Seven, six, five, four, three, two, one.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us on this Friday, November the 7th, 2025. It's going to be a great show as usual. Might do a little bit something a little bit different this morning as we trying to understand what's going on in Canadian politics. Lots of stuff going on. And I find a really great podcast or independent news, Dave from Moose on the Loose, does a really stellar job. He delivers about 2 videos a day, or 3 sometimes, or maybe even more, and just really focuses in on about a 20-minute show that puts as much of the recent news that's happening around Canada, trying to put it in perspective, putting it in perspective for us. Anyways, we're gonna have his segment, his latest segment. It was just uploaded about an hour ago, so it's very recent. Lots of stuff going on. There's been a resignation in the federal politics from the Conservative side after the floor crosser. A bunch of just good information if you're just interested in politics, just really wanting to know what's going on. The way the media handles things, it just keeps you in the know. And then I would just encourage people to pay attention to his podcast. And there's a lot of other really great Canadian podcasts that are out there that are covering what's going on. And so good morning, everyone. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM, cklu.ca. We're also streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the channel and the page. It'll be found immediately following the show on demand on those 2 platforms, along with x.com/Sudbury News and Sudbury.news, which is our local news aggregator. We created that in answer to our federal government's policies, which makes it impossible to have news or share news on Facebook. And make sure to comment. We'll do our best to get your comments up on the screen for those watching. Let's dive right in with a little bit of weather this morning, and then we'll just head on to Moose on the Loose's segment, and then we'll be back to kind of break it down and maybe some local stories to end the show today rather than begin with them. So let's head right on into the weather. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and more right after this. And as usual, Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. Currently it is 0 degrees. There is light snow. Today we can expect it to be cloudy with a 40% chance of rain showers or flurries early this morning. Periods of rain beginning this morning. Local rainfall amount 10 to 15 millimeters. Wind southeast, 20 kilometers, and then changing to southwest after at 20 kilometers early in the afternoon. So if that means anything to you, that's why Environment Canada puts that in for you. Okay? Tonight, cloudy with a 40% chance of rain showers or flurries this evening. Wind gusting to 50 kilometers per hour from the northwest. Low of -6. Wind chill -12 overnight. So it's getting colder. Saturday, cloudy, clearing late in the afternoon. Wind 15 kilometers per hour. High of -2. Wind chill -10 in the morning. -4 in the afternoon. So cold. I think it's the first day where we had the high be in the minuses this year. But anyways, it is what it is. And then onward and forward, Sunday, high of -5 and cloudy. Monday, high of -3, 30% chance of flurries. Tuesday, 0 and cloudy, +2, and a 30% chance of rain or flurries on Wednesday. cloudy and +2 on Thursday. That's your long-range forecast, and that is your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. Make sure you got your snow tires on. Make sure you got your windshield wipers working. You got your windshield fluid topped up. Everything's ready for winter. You got your clothing. You got your scraper and your brush in your car. All that stuff. If you don't have it now, you're going to want to get it. And we'll be back with your Moose on the Loose segment this morning, and then some news headlines and all your comments coming up on the screen right after this.
Matt Generou resigns.
Okay, and we are back, and thanks for being with us, everyone. Good morning to everyone. Thanks for being on. Thanks for making the show what you do. Comments are appreciated and encouraged. Got quite a big bunch on for coming on late this morning, so you're really going to enjoy this latest segment of Moose on the Loose. I know most of you probably haven't had a chance to see it because it's so new, and it's very telling of the way our country is going right now. He talks a little bit about the budget, about what's going on politically, and we'll be back right after Moose on the Loose.
Matt Generou resigns his seat immediately, right? Elizabeth May has, frankly, the balance of power in this parliament.
Definitely got some more news here today. Welcome back to Moose on the Loose. My name's David. Today we've got a Liberal getting fined for 4 ethics violations. Finally a little bit of justice. We've also got a Conservative resigning, which of course the left are having a field day with on social media, spreading rampant rumors, slander, all that kind of good stuff. We got a bunch of stuff here. Let's jump into this. Starting this episode off, we got a list of wild items here from the budget coming from the Wealth Moose. I'm not associated with this account, but this account does follow me, perhaps my wealthy uncle. We got number 1, $150 million to the CBC. As I pointed out in a previous video, Eurovision, waste of money. $43 million to National Listening Initiative. $17.9 million to modernize government social media messaging. $32 million how to regulate Netflix and TikTok and show us Canadian content. $28 million for public service workers, anti-isolation culture support. $63 million to develop a federal K-12 digital citizenship curriculum. $8 million for government-funded climate fiction writing program. This is so wasteful. $219 million for building greening teams. $48 million for sustainable tourism experience design. And $11 million for holiday event coordination. Federal Christmas party planning, literally. The Liberals really know how to throw money away, don't they? The Wealth Moose knows what's going on. While we're talking about the budget, we've got Tony Wakeham. He just won the majority in Newfoundland for the Conservatives, and he's not happy. He's not happy with Mark Carney's budget because there's nothing for Newfoundland in that budget. Yesterday's federal budget unfortunately raises more questions than answers when it comes to whether or not it will benefit Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. Well, it turns out Mark Carney's budget, it really doesn't benefit many of us at all. What they should have done is cut the taxes and actually had people start businesses in Canada. Instead, they're just be giving out a ton of money to a couple select companies that Mark Carney's invested in. Is it a generational investment? No. Yeah, it's got a couple companies. It's not going to do any difference across Canada. Nothing's going over to Newfoundland and Labrador. Most of us are getting nothing out of this budget. We'll just pay a lot more and get nothing in return. So Mark Carney's going around a hospital and just talking to people. Listen to this. Listen to what he's saying to people.
This is what we can control. That's kind of the core message. Is yes, we've got to negotiate with the Americans and all that stuff. Yeah, you can influence that. You can't control that. We can control it. And let's spend more time on that. And
I thought you're the guy to deal with Trump. You could handle Trump. You were going to get a deal. Now it's this is all we can control. So I mean that's all we can do. Anytime I see her now, she's the Minister of Health. All I think of is her not answering Ezra Levant's question in Alberta. She just stood there and didn't even recognize him as a human being. Like, she's disgraceful. She should be fired for that alone. It's just an absolute team of losers and liars. Got this one here. Breaking: the government of Canada to mass offer path to citizenship to 148,000 additional people over the next 2 years, of which 115,000 are refugees, granting them virtually all social benefits. Federal budget 2025: foreigners living in Canada will get permanent residency priority, immigration minister says. It's time to close the border. We should only be bringing in people that we desperately need. If you're a doctor, come on in, an actual doctor, and we should be allowing the doctors in our country who are accredited elsewhere to do a test and become a doctor here. The way they're running things is so awful, and it's so intentional. Otherwise, they would fix this stuff. I mean, look what happened with that story with those 2 guys caught with all all those videos and photos and doing things with kids and all that stuff. And you've got the government defending that in the House of Commons this week. It is disgusting and deplorable. The Supreme Court ruling on that, protecting these monsters. And then today we're seeing that the Supreme Court denied hearing the ostrich situation, and now they're going to slaughter all those ostriches. And here we have the twisted mind of Sean Fraser saying that he's pleased with this decision.
The Supreme Court has decided not to hear the death of the ostrich cases. Mr. Justice, do you have any thoughts about the case not proceeding to the Supreme Court and whether the ostriches should end their lives?
Look, we obviously are pleased to see the decision of the Supreme Court. It's important that the Minister of Agriculture and CFIA are able to protect the health of the general Canadian public and of the food that we consume in the poultry industry as well. This is a decision that is...
There's no poultry near that farm. These guys don't like to look at the facts. This flock was brought up for medical research, for science. They know what's going on here. They're protecting big donors, big money. We're not dumb.
That is following the science and evidence, and I'm sure my colleague who has conduct to file will have more to say today. Thanks.
The only thing they follow is money. All these people are greedy, awful people. Well, if that's the case, then why aren't they carrying out a test on the birds to prove a need to cull them? They're saying the birds are sick. They won't test them. Obviously, this is a big sham. What a piece of work that man is. The guy lost 1 million people. He destroyed the immigration system. He destroyed housing in Canada. Now he's destroying the justice system. He's been an absolute disaster for the Canadian people. Well, we got a little bit of justice here. We got a story here breaking. One of Carney's parliamentary secretaries are being fined for breaking ethics laws. False filings, overspending, and taking donations into his own account. They want you to follow their laws, but they don't want to follow it themselves. Typical of this Liberal government. Yemi Baptiste, Liberal MP, fined for 4 electoral law violations. All the offenses were linked to the 2019 Liberal nomination race in the Nova Scotia riding of Cape Breton, Canso, and Tingush, which he won. This guy's a rat. He's been a rat the entire time. I'm not surprised. $600 must have been a very serious offense. I mean, that's it. These ethics violations, like a few $100. This should be like $10,000, $50,000, like 50 grand. I think that 100 grand, something like that. Make it really serious so they don't do it. $600, like what is that? These guys, they make $200,000 and $210,000 a year minimum. If they're a minister or secretary, then that's like $250,000, $300,000. Should be fired. Yeah, should be. I mean, considering Justin Trudeau's an ethical lawbreaker himself, he probably felt at home with Yemi Baptiste in the party. Moving on here, we got this bombshell. Conservative Matt Genereux has resigned as an MP. There's speculation he was going to cross the floor. His office came out and said he's not crossing the floor, and just before the vote that happened today, as we're going to see, the Conservatives have an amendment vote. They're amending Carney's budget, and it was a confidence vote to take down the government, and he resigned just before the vote. And as you're going to see, the NDP are supporting it, so they're pushing it through to the next round. The Bloc get to put theirs in, and so on and so forth, and then everyone votes on the budget itself. But as for the letter here, it says, for those who have reached out, I am deeply grateful for your friendship and concern. However, I ask that you please not attempt to contact my family during this time. From what I've heard, he's got a family over in Victoria. His wife lives over there. His kids are over there. It's a lot of travel for someone who's representing Edmonton and then having to go to Ottawa and then Victoria. So probably has something to do with that. Of course, you're seeing a bunch of conspiracy theory, rumor bullcrap being pushed by the left all over Twitter. They just make up rumors with no fact and spread it as if it's some sort of gospel truth. It's quite disgusting that what happens in our media in our country. These aren't just random accounts. These are pundits that are on CBC and CTV pushing this propaganda. I see it all the time. The narrative they're pushing is that Pierre Poilievre muscled them out. Well, let's take a look at it. Sharon Kerr here is on a witch hunt. Been speaking to a lot of CPC insiders and MPs who say Pierre Poilievre keepers are threatening to ruin anyone of crossing the floor. You can't put this stuff out as a pundit on here. Unless you got proof, unless you got someone on the record, you got some sort of proof. This is just slander. That's all this is. For a party that preaches freedom, they acting like thugs. Pretty disgusting. Based on what? Because you talked to someone? Who'd you talk to? Don't even list sources. This is not news. Send this to the National Enquirer. This is garbage. She goes on here, Matt Genereux is good human. It didn't need to be like this. If OLO and others think bullying members is how you prove leadership, they're wrong. Politics should be about building bridges, not burning them. Where's your proof? Pierre posted this letter here saying, thank you to Matt for your decade of service to the people of Edmonton Riverbend. On behalf of the Conservative team, I wish you and your family all the best. She writes, that's rich. Maybe talk to your operatives who have sent a different message. When OLO and Pierre Poilievre have double down on not looking like a bunch of bullies, maybe get a better message. This is all slander. You can't just write random stuff. This just in, Mark Carney said he thinks Francois Philippe Champagne is a complete a-hole. Maybe you just make up anything. It's a rumor. I heard it from somebody. This is not news. This is disgraceful. It's one thing if you're commenting on rumors about job losses. For example, ConocoPhillips is just laid off a bunch of people. I'm getting some inside information on this, which is a fact. You'll see it coming out. There's already a report on this, which you can see here. ConocoPhillips to lay off Canadian employees in November. I've been told how many. I've been told not to say how many. It's definitely a lot of people, which is all factual. You'll find out what the details are soon when they announce this, but spreading this kind of crap, though, is just slander. It's meant to hurt his reputation. With that, we've got a panel talking about this on CTV. This is not necessarily a bad thing. This does mix things up, but it opens the door for another Conservative to come in.
Matt Genereux, an MP who was widely speculated to be among those considering to cross the floor from the Conservatives to the Liberals, has announced instead, a day after denying that would be the case, that he is resigning as an MP. The front bench happens to be here as this news comes into our inbox. I'm here with Christy Clark, Marco Mendocino, James Moore, and Tony Clement. Sorry to throw you guys this curveball, pardon me, but I do have to get your reaction. James, I'll start with you. What does this say to you?
There's more to this. I don't know exactly what there is, but on the surface, he was just elected 6 months ago. So I don't know, but I would say this about Matt. He's a friend of mine. I've known him for years. He's a good man. He's a smart guy. He's a good guy. He was just reelected in his riding. He served, multiple terms for his riding in Edmonton. His wife works in British Columbia. She's a medical doctor. The tension of going to and from Alberta and Ottawa back and forth while having a family split in another part of the country is not an easy thing to do. So on the surface, I will assume that's why, and then maybe he's seeking another opportunity. But there's more to this than just that. The crunch of the pressure about the rumors about floor crossing and what's going on here. It'd be unfair to speculate about it. But I'll just say to your viewers that Matt Genereux is a good guy, a really good guy. This is a loss to the Conservative Party, a loss to his constituents, and it's unfortunate to see him leaving Parliament Hill.
I don't know anything about this guy, but I mean, if he's coming over to Vancouver Island, to Victoria, where his family's located, maybe take a shot at the BC Conservatives, get John Rustad out of there. Guy's a disaster. The BC Conservatives need a strong Conservative leader.
Marco, I think if I remember right, you also know Matt Genereux, despite the fact that you were both in different parties. I know for a fact that he was involved in some discussions about crossing the floor, that the reaction from the party yesterday was quite significant, swift, and specific to him, so much so that he did put out that statement at the end of the day. What do you think is going on here, and what's your reaction?
Don't know. Would be reluctant to speculate. I think this gets back to what we were saying in the prior segment, which is that there is a lot of swirl right now. There's a lot of energy on the Hill, and the challenge for the government is amidst floor crossing and now resignations. How do you get a budget passed? How do you cut through all of that noise? And to my mind, I think that one of the Prime Minister's great skills is in managing through this kind of tumult.
What does this say to you tonight?
I think I read a stat that there's been over 300 floor crossings since the first Parliament in Canadian history. So that's a lot. Some people would say that's a small number. I think it's a big number, actually. So it happens a lot. The most spectacular one in recent memory, of course, was a lady I ran against for leader, Belinda Stronach, crossing the floor, giving Paul Martin
that was a big
one extra vote that he needed to keep going in Parliament. That one extra vote kept him going in Parliament. And then, of course, the next election happened and Stephen Harper was elected as Prime.
That's some dirty politics there. One vote, one floor crosser, just an absolute rat.
It's going to happen. It usually happens, not always, but usually from opposition to government.
This is, I mean, just the fact that it's definitely not the drama of Belinda Stronach. I think we can all probably agree on that at this moment, Christy, but it is happening at a particularly important time for the government, right? I mean, the reason I think there was such focus, besides the spectacle of it all, was because they're so close to a majority, right?
Yes.
2 days ago, they were 3 seats away. Yesterday it became 2 seats away, and everyone is wondering whether they'll be able to secure enough to actually hold a majority, which would be a big difference in the way in which this government is able to conduct their business.
No one's talking about the Terrebonne situation, though. That's being challenged by the Bloc, so they can potentially lose it. They should be losing that seat because there's more votes there to flip that back over to the Bloc. So even if the Liberals were able to get a couple more, then lose one, they would lose the majority again, unless they can get 3 or 4 seats. But as we're seeing it right now, no one else is flipping.
What do you make of the fact that this MP in particular decided to quit today, to resign his seat, instead of either stay with the Conservatives or move to the Liberals?
Yeah, there's no doubt that it's consequential. The moment is huge. You're quite right about that. It doesn't, floor crossings sometimes happen, but this is pretty spectacular. And I can tell you my own experience of floor crossings. One of our caucus members left because he wanted to become the speaker, and he sunk the whole government. So there are consequential floor crossings and just regular ones that happen because people might be ambitious. It is really hard to know. It's impossible to know what's going on for him and his family. There could be many other more complicated things that we don't see. But I will say, in my experience with these things, and it's been more than one event as a BC Liberal and leading a coalition government for years, that people, when they decide to leave or when they decide to come and they've come from somewhere else, the feeling amongst their once very close friends is brutal, and they're excised. They're treated as traitors. There's lots of angry, harsh words that are exchanged privately between people who were once very close. And I think for some people who may be fresher to politics, that can be a really devastating, personally devastating feeling. You're in a caucus of people, you all trust each other, you've all worked together, you know each other well, and then everybody turns on you and you look around and you say, I thought we were friends. It seems to me that has to have been part of his decision, that after just, all this talk and certainly some evidence that he had been having a discussion about leaving with the Liberals, that...
What evidence, though? Where's this evidence? Because somebody said something? Once again, they're just pushing this stuff. Where's the evidence? Get this guy on the record and say, yeah, I was talking to the Liberals. Because if that's the case, then maybe he's going over to BC to restart the Liberal Party. That's just raw speculation off of what she just said. Maybe he didn't want the media treatment that Chris D'Entremont got, so he decided to resign instead, fly home to Victoria, start the BC Liberal Party. Maybe he wants to run the BC Conservative Party and never talk to the Liberals, because that's all bullcrap that's being made up on here with no sources. That is the problem here. There's too many variables that this could be. We just have people spreading things that someone said, that someone talked to somebody, that someone talked to somebody on the Hill. I really don't like this element of politics on the Hill. On the Hill, it should be black and white fact. There shouldn't be like, I was talking to someone, but I can't tell you my source. It's like, well, what is that? You can make up anything. I just heard today that Francois Philippe Champagne absolutely hates Sean Fraser secretly. I can't tell you my source. That's what I just heard. It just came into my earpiece.
There was kind of no going back for him in the Conservatives. Those friendships, or the ones that he thought he had been irrevocably changed. And perhaps he just decided, you know what? There's no place for me here. Politics isn't the kind of business that I want to be into. I wasn't really made for this kind of event. I didn't really know how it would all unfold, and he just decided to call it quits. Some people do that, and it's proof that politicians are human beings. I think for everybody, the fact that sometimes it's just too hard to carry on. And if that's the case for him, I feel sad for him, but perhaps he's made the right decision for his personal and professional life.
Vashi, important procedural point. If the resignation is effective immediately, I believe it changes the math on the vote.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
I mean, just
I think it does. That's what I was,
Yeah, we're underanalyzing this a little bit. We're underanalyzing this a little bit.
Right.
Tony Clement he made the point about Belinda Stronach crossing the floor. She didn't give the Liberals the plurality they needed to pass that budget.
That's right.
It was Chuck Cadman, one member of Parliament. So if Matt Jeneroux resigns his seat immediately, right? Elizabeth May has frankly the balance of power in this Parliament, maybe with one other member of Parliament, which is interesting because not only did Chuck Cadman have the balance of power, but I'm wondering now as we go into the weekend and into the break week, that members of Parliament from all the parties might be thinking of a guy named Joe Manchin, who became became an independent senator for West Virginia very recently and yielded extraordinary power in the United States to get benefits for West Virginia. And he became extremely popular in his state because he had the balance of power in the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Senate. So I think a lot of members of parliament may be wondering what kind of power they may want to have as an influence in a 1-seat margin, maybe 2-vote margin in this parliament. This is a very destabilizing event for this parliament.
Tell you what, anybody...
We should not have Elizabeth May as the deciding vote on anything. Never, ever. She just had a press conference. I'm not going to show it, but she basically said she's not going to be supporting the Conservatives' amendment, their confidence vote tonight. She doesn't think she'll support the bloc, and she won't be voting in support of Mark Carney's budget. She says that there's not enough initiatives for the environment. And it's funny because it's kind of true. Well, Mark Carney has carbon taxes and all this bullcrap. It's actually just to enrich himself. He cut the 1 billion trees program, the thing that would actually reduce carbon, the thing that would pull carbon out of the air, planting the trees. Mark Carney cuts. The guy can't say we need to increase the industrial carbon tax and then cut the 1 billion tree program. That's absolutely absurd. So yeah, we're stuck with Elizabeth May as the balance of power potentially. Like what's happened to our government here? Here we have the Conservatives' Ways and Means motion, sub-amendment budgetary policy. Obviously, they're voting for that. Liberals voting against it.
Anyone looking for a government House leader ought to hire James, because I think he just crystallized the procedural point that I was raising. So thanks, James.
But it's both, Tony, you want to weigh in too? A quick point. It's both a moment for the Conservative Party in opposition, but also the Liberal Party. The same sort of math applies to the Liberal Party caucus. You have a lot of throw weight there if you want to throw your weight around now.
Yeah, very much so. Things perhaps got even more interesting.
Yeah.
It's happened before.
What could
Something
happen
tells me we're going to be back.
Yeah, well,
I think so. James, last word to you. Yeah.
Yeah, to Tony's point, this could destabilize in a lot of different ways, including having members of parliament balkanize and see themselves as a regional bloc within a political party or an ideological bloc within a party. When you get down to this narrow of a margin, it destabilizes in a lot of different ways, not just red team, blue team, orange team. It also becomes very regional and very even generational. So this will have a domino effect as we go into the break week. So
it is destabilizing. Carney still doesn't have a majority, and there's a lot of speculation. Really, it would have been best if Matt just came out with a very brief thing like, I'm going to move to Victoria to be with my family or whatever, and leave it be like that. But now we've got leftist pundits just spreading garbage all over social media on X, and then these pundits pick it up and then run it as if it's some sort of credible source, which it's not. Polyev bullying people, this, that, and the other. There's consequences to the stuff they put on here. This has a national audience that goes out to millions of people, millions and millions. And they know that. That's why they do it like this. That's why they spread that stuff. Unfortunately, propaganda. Well, the budget is going to pass. The Conservatives can't politically afford an election now. Now, it's not a good idea right now with the floor crosser and the media trying to spread that so much. They need more time to give some more rope to Carney. Canada has to keep crumbling first. I know it's hard for everyone here, but it has to crumble more before we can make this better. It has to really hurt Canadians so badly to the point where people wake up and are like, what's going on here? So everyone's got a breaking point. Well, mostly everyone. There'll be some liberals that'll never wake up, but backdoor deals. People saying this is bad for Pierre, whatever. I mean, he resigned. There'd be personal reasons. He could have some medical condition. He could just have had enough. But this opens the door for a by-election to get a new Conservative in there, a strong Conservative. This is an Alberta riding. Most likely will go to Conservatives. I believe he won it like 55 to 40 something %, like a 6 or 7 point lead on it. It was like a downtown Edmonton riding. Christy Clark is the worst premier of BC. So much corruption during her rule. Yeah, she was the worst premier of British Columbia. David Eby has dethroned her since then.